are live on episode 30 of The Coaches Show. I'm Mike Bianca, coach of the New Orleans Hurricanes, with my co-host and good friend, Ryan Gray, coach of AC Diesel. Tonight, we have a special treat. We are honored to host future Hall of Famer Kirill Prihidni of Moscow Red Legion. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Maxed Sportswear. For all your custom paintball goods, get Maxed. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing my Maxed Coaches Show shirt now.
Man, we got to get our intro uploaded like that. That little
really
30
do.
second.
We gotta get that bad boy.
It's so terrible. That 30-second thing that we play. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm jamming out the whole time, like dancing and being silly. And but man, we gotta get that taken care of. So Kirill has been somebody like I have as I followed kind of his career. Number one, I've been always incredibly impressed at the level of consistency that he's been able to maintain as a player. But then also just the way his mind kind of works about the game. When you have opportunities to talk to somebody like Kirill about the game and sort of his philosophy around sports and those kind of things, it's refreshing, number one. And the other thing that it is Kirill has some very interesting views about the way things sort of need to work in America to sort of help push paintball forward. And I know we have, people from kind of all over the world who sort of watch our show. So I think that everybody will get something really good out of this. So we're going to kind of break down a few things about Kirill's career. We're going to talk about training and methodology early on for Russian Legion. We'll talk about sort of what their training and methodology looks like now. And then we're going to break into some Red Wave things, which is a training program developed inside of the Red Legion camp. And they've sort of been curating all of this training for the last 30 years. So keep in mind, there's a few things that Red Legion did long before anybody else. They were really the first team to have coaches. They're really the first and really only truly entirely professional paintball team, meaning paintball is what they do for a living. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. I don't want to spend too much time on that because Kirill has talked about it probably on every show he's been on for the last 30 years. So we don't want to bore you with that. But then we're going to kind of talk too about the current performance of Red Legion, and we'll maybe put him on the spot a little bit and make him tell us where he thinks his team's going to finish for the end of Texas. And then we'll talk a little bit too about a team that's so technical like the Russian Legion. How is a blind layout going to impact that? So we'll get Kirill in here and kind of ask some questions. If there's anything throughout the show that you guys want to know about, want us to ask questions, just make sure and pop them in the chat, and we'll remind you as we go through. Also, make sure to please follow, like, share our page. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to Major League Paintball. Like the video, leave a comment below. Hello, sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm honored to be not a coach in between the coaches. Seriously, like at the professional level, I still didn't have this experience, guys, that you're having. And the performance that you guys make your teams in there is what is seriously valuable. And yes, I hope that we're gonna have a very interesting conversation, because like we're gonna be speaking not only about the Russian Legion, we're gonna be talking about the bigger picture for the sports. And the best place to talk about this bigger picture is the USA. So there will be maybe some good calls from me and from my club, because like we've seriously been through that for many decades. But we're not insistent. We're not trying to be like the brainers and smarters over here, because like we respect the way how Americans are capable of making those generations of crazy competitive players that we were designed to fight against back in those days.
Sure. Yeah.
I've got to stop you there real quick. First of all, this topic is very exciting. I'm looking forward to that and diving into that mindset. But to say that you're not a coach, that's strange to me, because it's fascinating to me, because there's no doubt, and Ryan touched on this, that several people have looked at the Legion's methodology on the way you approach the game, the way you approach training, the way you approach preparation, almost everybody's borrowed from you, right? You were cutting edge. So to be there from the ground up, and I want to get into the history of that real quick, but to be there from the ground up and not pass that on. We talk about growing the sport. There's no doubt that you're doing this with the Red Wave. You're spreading that. Knowledge to me is like money. It's like currency. In order for it to have value, it has to be shared. It has to be spread. So I feel like you're carrying some pretty heavy currency there, Kirill.
I'm carrying the currency, but I have never had a chance to deal with this suppression at the pro level, because and that's what defines you guys from my experience. I'm okay with divisional guys. I haven't ever had a chance to go and deal with those heavy personalities of professional players who has their own minds, who has their own personalities, who has their own backgrounds, all of that stuff. And you have to force that group of people together. Yeah, put some sauce over there. Better not a hot sauce, better like a nice sauce. Yeah, and make those guys winning consistently. That's what I'm talking about. I haven't ever been in this pressure on the position of the person who is in charge of this group of people. That's what I'm saying.
But would you not agree that your coaching staff in the Legion, and I'm not that familiar, I do know that you have a staff and it's significant, and there's some very intelligent people on that staff. And as I have often been accused of, I use math a lot, and I'm sure the Russians use math a lot in their study. But here's my question. But would you not say that staff leans on you and your experience to understand?
Of course it is.
You not come back. Yeah. So in a way that I know that I lean on my guys heavily. I can't sit there and take all the credit. My guys are just as smart. And I know Ryan's got, there it is. I know Ryan's got guys on his crew that he leans on heavily as well. So you can't, I think you got some coach in you. I do.
It definitely is, but I don't consider myself a coach, and other persons like a true coaches until they have the pro experience, because this is tough. And I just explained why this is exactly tough, because to be the coach, you must be a leader, but it's much easier, comfortable to lead the people who are lower than you in the level and the stats. But what you gonna do with monsters? How are you gonna deal with the monsters? Yeah. I mean, Mike is in a little more comfortable position right now. He brought these guys up. He's like a true leader. But what you, Ryan, have to go through, that's a quite different story. And I mean, my admiration is right there, because you finally make those guys together, and finally there is like a production of mathematically or on the pages like a perfect team to operate with.
Yeah, we're getting there, and I appreciate that. And we talk about the same thing, Kirill, that you just kind of mentioned is, being a coach is not just about the X's and O's, right? It's about being able to manage personalities and make someone feel valued and make sure they feel good and respect their opinion. And then also sometimes be a psychologist where you're working through off the field problems, whether it's a sick child or marital relationship things or whatever. Right. So yeah, we kind of say all the time, to be a good coach, you got to wear a lot of hats. You have to become different things depending on how things evolve, right? So I appreciate that. Yeah, we're AC Diesel. We're getting there, and I'm excited for the challenge. And I think I told you that too at the summit. I'm ready for it. I think it'll be a fun year and hopefully longer. But yeah, we're making big strides pretty fast. So
fantastic speech, sir. As the example, all at the same time. Just look what Ryan starts talking with. Babies, back life, wives, all of that features. To be honest, in real sports, it never matters.
Right.
It never matters. But in our paintball community, this is a big thing, especially when you start working with professional paintball players that already reached the age. Yeah, you have to go through that. But generally, when you create a system, like a sports club system, this is not the problem of a coach. This is the problem of a team manager.
Sure. Yeah.
But due to American traditions, there is only one coach per team, maybe two, like a team help for the coach. But I believe you guys saw the Last Dance movie, yeah, with about Chicago Bulls, and that's the best explanation how this is supposed to be designed. Who's in charge of what, why exactly this person in charge of that part of the team, and how the team works. If you want to understand paintball, and especially live of some top pro teams, just rewatch or watch for the first time the Last Dance, and you guys gonna be amused by the knowledge that you're gonna receive from that magnificent scene, magnificent movie that about the sports. Simple as this. Better than, no offense to Walt Disney sports movies, yeah, but this is just beyond the level. I mean, you watch this movie and you see your life in there. Seriously, easy.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites for sure. Well, let's dive in a little bit here. So in 2001, you joined the Red Legion, right? And you guys come over the International Amateur Open. They create this wildly different type of paintball format, and they say, hey, we're going to run this test and we're going to call it I don't even remember what they called, Nations something, right? Nations Cup maybe.
Nations Cup X-Ball.
So still called the same thing. So Nations Cup, they said, we've got this format, we want to test it. In order to test it, we're going to bring all of these teams to International Amateur Open and we're going to test it. And it was the very first view that we all got of X-Ball. And it was, I think it was 30-minute halves, maybe 25-minute halves at that first
25,
one. It was,
sir. 25.
Yeah, it was 25. So, like, they were so long, and there were so many points played. And all of us who are literally like playing the amateur open, and we weren't able to play, but all the teams that were playing the amateur open literally were playing like 4 10-man games a day. Right? Or maybe 5, right? And then walk over and they watch this spectacle that is going on. And it's all of this. And at that point, it wasn't choreography. It wasn't pretty. It was just chaos, right? It was just 45-second point after 45-second point after 45-second point after 45-second point on this crazy looking field that had all these pins, and it was insanity, right? So we're watching it, and there's a few of us who'd been around a little bit at that point, and we're like, oh my God, everything about our game is about to change. Everything is about to change. We had already been through this sort of youth movement where the arms race was coming in, right? Where the older players and older teams were picking up young guys, Oliver Lang and Yosh Rao, and all of these guys were starting to get picked up on these big name older guy teams, right? To now come be the missiles. And now we're watching this thing where it's like, oh my gosh, you need 8 missiles. You got to have 8 missiles because you're going to have 3 lines of players. You're going to need 15 guys on a roster minimum. And you're going to need all these fast guys. Our entire world of sports as it relates to paintball is going to change. Right. And then the league comes the very next year, right? 2002, they designed the league. So you guys, when you came over, first of all, it was really weird. There were several guys holding their guns with their left hand, shooting out the right side of the bunker, and then shooting with their right hand across their bodies out of the left side of the bunker. And it was so interesting to me. And I was talking with Bob Long, and I said, why are they doing that? And he said, well, I can only assume it's because it gives less of a target on the outside edge of the bunker. And I was like, okay, I guess that makes perfect sense, right? But to us who had grown up playing this, you only shoot with your right hand most of the time back then, and then just kind of like go crossbody.
Yeah.
It was just so abnormal, right? And you guys, you just looked different. You were so athletic. You guys all moved around really well. where the biggest difference was kind of the understanding of the game at that point, right? There was a mental gap between what the American pros were used to doing and what you guys had. But physically, you guys looked better than the American team, in my opinion. So in 2002, now the league comes, right? So let's talk about
2003. Yeah, maybe 2003.
It was either 2002 or 2003. I thought it was 2002. It might be 2003.
MAO, sir, was in 2002, and the league comes 2003. I believe that was
okay.
And I gotta tell you why I remember this, because like when I joined the team, we all came over to the US, the World Cup for the first time, 2001. And that was like huge, like cold shower on all of the players, and especially the young players for sure, because like your experience does not work. You run into the center because like short tank, you can't shoot on the move, and nobody was shooting while moving. So you get into the center, diving into your knees, you're trying to raise the gun, and then player that goes to the 50-line bunker shoots you in your face while running with the long tanks. We were shocked by that techniques in 2001. And that's actually when the boss decided that it's going to be the sports, and to beat such kind of a competition, which is natural selected competition, and all at the same time having a vast experience behind their backs. Doesn't matter, teenager, old guy, all of you guys were having like a tournament experience since 1995, something like this. Yeah, we had nothing in common with this at all. We all realized that instead of going the extensive way, that we can't afford ourselves spending another 5 years learning in average competition how to do all of that. We're supposed to go the intensive way. It means more practices during the week, and if we can't play smart enough as those guys, we must be quicker than those guys and more technical than those guys. That was our logics behind the process that being designed after this horrible experience of 10-man competition, 5-man competition in 2001.
Perfect setup as to where I was going. So you experienced kind of the 10-man thing, and then the sort of the first X ball, and now you're in the process, you're developing what your training is going to look like. So back in 2000, in the gap between 2002 and 2003, what did the Russian Legion training look like? What did you do?
So till 2001, we were having the same type of the practice, like a weekend practice, going out to the field and playing the games. Yeah, you play the game good, you're good to go. You're not playing game good, okay, you're gonna have time to try to learn what's the elder guys are doing. Plus, you're gonna be playing some local competitions. Plus, all at the same time, the team was already going to Europe and receiving like the Millennium Tournament experience out there in 7-man format, I believe. Yeah. So that was the basic training. Since the elder guys in the team, they were playing since 1996, as you guys kind of too. Yeah. They had this experience, so they had a fighting conditions, all of that stuff. The youngsters, they were of a different class. They were super athletic guys as Knyazev and Fedorov. Those guys already were the missiles. You just set up those guys correctly, make them holding their guns in a correct way, and listen to the commands. They're gonna go do their job perfectly. And there were another group of the guys who were not physically good enough, and we had to suffer through the more training period, time, so on and so forth. But once again, our training till 2001 was simple, the American style. You just come, play some points, and that's enough. That's enough. After what we have seen at Cup 2001, we realized that, once again, let's go intensive way. What we can add 2 more practices during the week, where we're going to be making fitness condition exercises and drills more. And so 2 days in a week all together making fitness exercises, and during the weekend we are playing the games. And that's how we come over to the X-Ball format in the end of 2002. Yeah, that's how we'll all be there by that time. Since we were making like more than just a year this amount of fitness drills, maybe that's why we were looking kind of maybe some, because like I've been surprised to hear this from you, sir, because like I remember myself back in those days, I was not shining. I mean, Oliver Lang or like Alex Frazier, they were still doing things much better and smoother than me or some other guys. I mean, elder guys from my team. But I believe that you were looking once again at our missiles, at Knyazhov and Fedorov. Those guys were always looking amazing.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, so in 2003, you guys add a couple of weekday trainings for just fitness.
2002, sir. So
2002
World Cup,
okay.
We had a cold shower and changed a little bit
Yeah.
the training system to kind of try to give back to Americans. Yeah, because like we
World
realized
Cup
that the
has a
best
tendency to do that.
yeah, that this is the best competition is here, and if you want to be the best, you must be better than those guys. So till from 2001 till 2002, we add extra 2 fitness days in our training routines during the week. But still,
Okay.
those days were really hard to attend for the guys who were going into the real jobs. Kids were coming for those trainings easy, but the elder guys had troubles. And that was actually the moment when the young guys start growing quicker than the old guys. And that's probably why at MAO, you saw like young stars doing the job and realized that, wow, those guys might be looking very good. And yes, Knyazhov and Fedorov and some of the old guys were still looking really well back in those days, even shooting from the right hand on the left hand side.
Yeah, it was weird.
But the main transformation that since 2001 till 2002, everybody got long tanks and everybody kind of started using left hands because like that was another big opening in 2001 that like good American players using both hands and you using only one hand, it's not quick, it's not working and all that stuff. Yeah. And then when we finally tried ourselves in the X-Ball format, the owner of the team finally realized that paintball goes into the direction that he always wanted it to be, that paintball becomes an athletic sport. And that's when everything changed. Yeah, it's not only about having 15 players in your squad, it's you must have athletic players in your squad. And you have two options. You either gonna hire the ready athletic players, or you're gonna design a program to make athletic players out of your players. And that's was the final transformation in the team and club psychology, that we must become an athletic team and go as intensive as this possible. And from 2002 till 2003, we start generating the new training program, like 5 days a week training system, with inviting specialists from the other sports who can see first of all what's the real specifics in our sports and design a training fitness routine targeted on those special abilities that our sports needed, not what soccer needed, not what American football needed, not what basketball needed, but what our exact sports needed. And that's how we spent part of 2003, but we were still not in a full mode. We came to be in a full mode training routine only by 2004, in between 2003 and 2004, when we start using the winter time. Because like after 2003, we managed to have the indoors in Moscow, and winter was not a trouble for us anymore. While all of the paintball world was on a pause and off season, we were intensively raising the muscle memory and the athleticism of the team to be ready to fight against the best over here in the US.
Yeah. Kat, agreed.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so in 2004, you guys are now doing year-round, 5-day-a-week training. So, kind of describe that a little bit. So, Monday you're off, or are you doing like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, or explain how the training regimen works?
Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were first of all, we broke all paintball into 4 big topics. The first topic was the fitness topic. Second topic, the gun skills, like individual gun skills. The third topic, individual game skills. And fourth, the team skills. So during Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we were working on the first three elements. Usually that was like a mix. So like before each paintball session, we were having the fitness session, because it's very important up to the real sports to go and do your specifics on a high pulse. Because like if you train on a low pulse, your muscle memory is not working correctly. It's working in a comfortable regime. But when you raise up the pulse, that's when everything is not working. And tournament is always a stress mode for you. Yeah. So that's why raise up the stress by the fitness training, and then make players do all of the snaps, running and shooting, and all of those parts of our game. And that's how you teach players to use their team abilities and individual skills in a real tough suppression of a tournament. And during Saturday and Sunday, we were making some team drills. Usually on Saturday, we were playing down the sides. We were working like in pairs and three guys down the side, working out our mutual communication, working out like a small teams and a big team. And on Sundays, we were playing like a full matches with a time limit, with stress factor, with prizes in between the points, all that stuff. So team owner wanted us to spend every other week as a tournament, because like tournament for us was not supposed to be a stress any longer. And in 2004, besides all of that, so we add winter sessions because of the indoors. We add full training 5 days a week program. And we hired players. I mean, club finally start paying money for the elder guys to get off their jobs and start spending more time at the paintball field with the youngsters. That creates a bond inside of a squad and between the generations. Yeah, but that was easy because like all of the elder guys, they were working in a bank where from the team owner is. So he just took them off the bank and put them into something much more interesting and much more interesting, the sports, yeah, that everybody loved by that time. So they finally made their miracle. You can do your hobby and get money for this. So and we as youngsters were also super happy with this, because like we were going into the universities all at the same time, and morning you go to study, daytime you come to the practice. Perfect. And you gain money for that. Not a crazy money, but still something to start with. That was cool.
For sure. Yeah. All right. So each one of these 5 days of training, other than Sunday, which sounds like Saturday and Sunday, were really focused on individual game skills and team skills.
Saturday and Sunday is about the team skills.
Okay.
Tuesday,
so those other
Wednesday,
3 days,
and Thursday is about the individual skills. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Be the gun skill in the
gun skill,
fitness,
running
gun
and
skill, and game
shooting skill, and overpression skill.
Yeah.
Okay.
This evolution is fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean,
and
this
how
is
many
what I
hours
talk
a
about
day?
often, Kirill. Oh, there you go.
5 hours, sir. Like 1 hour of fitness, then half an hour break, and another 3.5 hours into the specifics into paintball.
This is the key to all paintball. Those of you out there, coaches, players, everyone, this is the key to paintball. It's called adaptation. This is something I had a conversation with, and I've had this conversation with several people over the last several years. Adaptation is the key to being a successful paintball team, whether you're in the professional division or you're just starting out in D5. Adaptation is the key to becoming a successful paintball team. I'll just leave it at that. I won't go into too much details because we've still got a lot more to talk about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and all of these things that Kirill is describing are things that coaches, even if you only have 2 days, you can still do all of these things. You just add in a few Zoom elements and some one-on-one with players throughout the week. You can still do all of this. Like it's not, you don't have to be getting paid and you don't have to spend 5 hours, but there's ways to still do all of these things And even if you have players kind of spread out, which we're going to talk about, because there was another kind of evolution that occurred just a few years after this, as you guys, and this is you're doing a great job, Kirill, leading me into the next questions that we're going to ask. So the reason I was kind of asking about the number of days, the amount of time, those kind of things, is as you guys were evolving, and some of your elder players began to fall off. You then started sort of picking up some American players. You brought on the young kid from North Carolina, I forget his name, and you had Dave Baines, and you had this kind of barrage of American guys, the Blonskis, and I know even a couple of Alex, right? He played with Alex and Max, played with you guys for a while. I believe you guys even had, I know Shallow, who's in the chat right now, he played with you guys from Brazil. So how did the training work when you had, when you're now spreading your community across the world, right? Across the globe. How does the training look now?
Guys, it's a fascinating story, because like another big edition of 2004 was adding the international experience into our team, because like when we come that, okay, we're good athletics right now, we're good in gun skills, like individual skills right now, we're good in game elements, we can create some action down the sides, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, whatever. But still, team-wise, we're not exactly on the page of what's going on there. Yeah, we're still not sure about the secret of the success and of the victory. So, plus, besides all of that, Sergey, the team owner, has always been imagining not just a Russian team, but the international team that spreads the culture of a true sports around the world and the true way of training. Because like he was creating the sports paintball, like true sports paintball back in those days, because everybody must understand that sport itself, basketball, is not only about the tournaments. Basketball is about training, first of all. American football also not about just the games. It's also about training. You pick up every other sports, and you're gonna see that 70% of time you train, and 30% of time you go into some competitions and all that stuff, right? And yes, we have been hiring talents from different countries. And the first 3 guys in our team were Mikko Hatanen from Finland. He used to work for DAI and being in Ironman. Shallow Almeida from Brazil. And hey, Shallow, if you following this program, that's super cool. We had some good times together, and I'm still having your present. That's band that you gave me back in those days. Crazy. And it was Dan Maskell from UK. And those 3 guys become like the first people to, it's crazy, come from another countries over to Moscow in the middle of 2004, like living in some flat nearby the dome where we have been practicing. And those guys were investing all of their powers into the sports to try themselves, to test themselves, to grow bigger, to be somebody in the sports of paintball at the highest level, because they couldn't reach the same in their areas, no chances. And here they were changing their life totally, going into the quite different atmosphere, like to the parallel reality, seriously. And we have had some funny stories with the guys of their experience with the militia people in the country, with like interfering with some other guys in there. Back then, Moscow was not a super safe city, especially for the foreigners. So that's why my big admiration to the guys that they did this. And overall, the experience was not that bad. The experience was much better than everybody expected. Yeah. And in the same year, we have hired Max Lundquist, who used to be with Joy, who used to play for the New York Extreme, the Bunker Kings brand. Everybody is supposed to know this last name, and we're going to speak about his brother a little bit later. But Max was the person to enrich us with the mentality of a winner. He was that guy who explained and brought that sauce, not a hot sauce, but a nice sauce into the squad to start directing the powers correctly, because like we were good against the Europeans back in 2004, we crushed everyone over there, but Americans were still like a big trouble. We realized that it's going to be a clash if we seriously want to beat the pro American team out there. And Max helped about this a lot. Once again, his role was about bringing the mentality of the winner into the team.
Yeah. So those guys all came to Moscow.
Yeah. and spend like more than just 5 to 6 months in the country. Those guys were like grinding together with us all of those days.
So we had Shallow on the show.
Yeah.
He came on and he talked a little bit about his time and experience there. And just so you know, he had nothing but wonderful things to say. So he really enjoyed his time there. So
I'm super happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go a step further now, right? And this is kind of where I was taking you to. When you guys bring in Dave Baines and some of these guys, they're not coming to live in Moscow, right? So those are the guys I'm talking about. How does your training work when you don't have everybody there?
So I described to you guys like level 1 of integration of the foreign players into the Russian Legion franchise.
Right.
Step 2 was in 2005 when we realized that to beat Americans, we need Americans. But we need Americans that are going to be polished by our program. And that's how we hired the next 3 players. That was Blonsky brothers. And that was Alex Lundqvist, like the elder brother from the Lundqvist family. And those trio, they came over to Moscow to try themselves for the first year. They were coming for the trainings with us, but not as long as European guys and Shallow from Brazil, because level of the first trio was amateur level, right? And those guys were grinding together pro. Those guys who we hired afterwards, those guys were pros, but not from the top 5 pros. And having their experience and having their basic set that is already there. We were supposed to spend less time on training those guys. So that's why they were coming over to Moscow, but not for a long periods of times. They were coming just shortly. And since 2006, those guys had their personal programs to fulfill back in New York or a place where they were living by that time. But in 2005, those guys were flying over to Moscow, having like a full training sessions with us, but not that much as the first session of players.
All right.
And later, I know what you're going to ask me, sir, because like that was actually your question, like what has happened later when Dave Baines showed up and other players like Justin, like Kevin Rudolph, like JP Augustin, we had, I already said about them, Pascal. I have my coach over here, actually. It's in my bag. It's in my bag. No, nobody gonna see it. So, I mean, those guys, the youngsters, they were coming to Moscow to train. Like JP lived in Moscow, like Justin lived in Moscow. Dave was not that guy. He was about the different role. Dave was a person of a different role. He was like the person to unite the team, spread the right mentality. So in simple words, he was doing the job of Max Lundqvist and Alex Lundqvist from years before. So he took this role, last training routine, more communication in the squad, and he was playing his role because he had his 8 missiles on the field. So we didn't need like the 9th missile of him out there.
Sure. Yeah. It's great. Okay. So what does it look like today? Right. So we've talked kind of, this is like the birth infantile sort of what it looked like. What does it look like now?
So when you spend that much time in the sports, you think that you start seeing cycles, the historical cycles. So when I came out from a COVID to finally start playing the pro division again, I realized that I've already seen all of that somewhere. Like those guys in blue with the dragon, they beating everyone. Where
Yeah.
did I see that before? Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, it's like seriously like a 20-year cycle. And for some reason, all at the same time, it's really hit us a lot because like in 2002 and 2003, we were doing exactly the same steps as a club as we have been doing before. Uh, Less finances, still trying to figure out the modern structure of a training process that we're supposed to face in a modern reality of the politics and all of that stuff. And finally, we have 2004, say 2024, when finally all of the questions are solved and we start intensively working on what is really needed to be there. So we're still not on a 5 days training routine, except the American part, because like I'm with American squad right now over here. We have lots of young players in here and young potential. So we spend with those guys Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the field and Saturday, Sunday for the team actions, right? So we do this with the guys. The rest of the team, which is having like monsters besides them right now. They don't need that much time for training. So they go for the fitness themselves and they go for 3 days training specific routines in Moscow. 2 days guys spend on the reballs and 1 day for the individual skills. And 1 day they spend for the team actions with paintballs, like playing 5-on-5 and all that stuff, like team experience once again.
So the Russian group now is doing like three days a week. And then, and I noticed too, you guys rotate. So Karslev was here kind of earlier in the year, and now you're here. And then I assume you'll rotate out and then someone else will come in. Okay, great.
We hope to have Malloy here because like all of the community is ready for that, and Sasha is that monster that needs to give his experience and his vibes over here for the school for sure.
His performance in Portugal was just extraordinary.
Yeah, at least somebody finished the Texas event, right?
Yeah, right.
We'll get to that. Yeah. But that's also a great segue. That's a great segue in your next question, Ryan, about like the training methodology that they use today. And I've had experience with this since, Kirill, we had the true pleasure of having you come out to LA Extreme in Slidell, Louisiana. Our first year as pro, right? You were the only pro team that came to us our very first year pro. So thank you for that. So.
Wow. And you guys were tough back in those days, and we come to you because we realized that, I mean, those guys gonna give us an honest practice. And that's the key. Yes. That's the precious that you can receive, because like you can play against some other teams, no offense to other teams, and those guys just want to beat you. That's all what they want to do. They don't want to train and learn and kind of exchange the information with each other. That's why like usually some young teams that especially showing some good potential, they are must visit teams to go and have like a valuable practice with.
Yeah, it was a good weekend.
Totally agree. I go to New Orleans any chance we get because we know we're going to have an amazing practice. It's like I told the guys on Notorious the first time we went and played them, I was like, just so you guys know, this is not what all pro practices look like. Like, in fact, I've been doing this a really long time, and I don't know that any of them ever look like this. Like, guys never like you'd shoot a guy off the break, and he would literally go back to the spot you shot him, raise his hand, and then tell you how high the paint was. I'm like, There's no, like, you're not going to get this anywhere else. Like, you guys you're being spoiled right now by gentlemen and people who really give a shit about the game, and they're so happy you're here. And yeah, totally agree, Kirill. Like, you're going to get a great practice when you go there, and especially with young teams, a lot of times, because they feel like it's a privilege, right? And I always feel like any team that allows us to come practice them, it's our privilege, right? Like, it's an honor to be able to do those things. So, Mike, I think you were going to ask a question there.
Yeah, well, and it was really your question. You and Ryan and I had a great conversation before we had you on, Kirill, and about all the different things we wanted to talk about, because we're a fan. We're certainly a fan, and you paved the way. The Russians did pave that way on that training.
Guys,
a lot of we
are colleagues. Let's go in this direction. Fans is not correct. We are colleagues because we're trying to develop players and make more players into the sports. And you can get more players into the sports if you explain them what is the sports and what is that really about. So
you're right.
Do not say fans, guys.
Let me rephrase that. We're fans of what you're doing with I'm Kirill. You're gonna learn that about me. I'll sit there and I'll work my ways around. But because of a lot of the stuff that I learned from picking people's brains from the Legion and from Ryan and Paul Richards and all these great minds, right? That's why you got that kind of practice, is because we recognize what it takes, what is necessary, and it is a privilege. I think that's a good word you used, Ryan. It's a true honor and privilege to work with people, like-minded colleagues that we all want to grow and get better. The question I was going to ask, and it's really Ryan's question, but it's one that I've had for a long time, because I know there's math involved, and that's what's fascinating to me. You guys will come out there. There's been a lot said about how when you practice the Russian Legion, they come out, they're gonna practice for a very specific amount of time. They're gonna study something very specific on that day, or a couple of things very specific that day. Then they're gone, right? And that, I realize, a lot of that has to do with focus. A lot of it has to do with mathematics. A lot of it has to do with injury and being burnt out, etc. So 3 to 4 hours of training, at these, what we would call, what did you call it, Ryan? Bite-sized training methodology for layout practices. And so what I wanted to ask, 3 to 4 hours of training, 5 to 6 days instead of 3 or 4 really long days. Why? How did that come to fruition? What was the methodology and thought process behind taking that approach to preparing for an event on a layout?
Guys, simple. So let's say we have a weekend of the layout, right? The first day, you usually trying things, right? You're trying to learn the mechanics of the field. Where is the strong side? Where is the weak side? Okay, we're good about that. What's the option B and what's the option C? On first day, like next day, Saturday, you work on option A. You see how your option A works. Sunday, you work on option B and C, and then you're trying to create like a tournament situation, limited amount of time and real points and all that stuff to create like a shock therapy for all of the players, to reshake their focus and put the focus into the game, not just every other point playing, and doesn't matter what's the overall result is. And but the best part that you also have like Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, where you work on the mistakes. Like Tuesday, you work on the individual mistakes of this exact player, and you spread the players down and you work with them on that. Next day, you're working on the breakouts, you polish the breakout shots, and on Thursday, you have like the final test at the field. Like you try all of what you have learned throughout those days and put it for the final test. And this is like Thursday is the last day when you can see what works, what doesn't work, and what other teams learned. Because like usually after your full session, you're not quite right what logics the other teams would follow in the game, and you need to be aware of that.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Outstanding. What a great explanation. I feel a little bit better about myself, and Ryan, I'd like to get your insight on this. I feel a little bit better because what you just described on your on your option, how that field, we think the field's going to play, that option A, and then we're going to do some test and learn with options B and C, and then we're going to polish it. And then you broke it down on, okay, Tuesday mistakes, Wednesday the breakout and the guns off the break, etc., and Thursday, the final mix. And I love that concept. I do all of that on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, and that's why our days are long, because we don't always have those opportunities. But I certainly see the strength and the knowledge and the foundational building of using that process. That makes a lot of sense to me. Ryan?
Why a long day is bad, up to the theory of sports, because after 3 to 4 hours, you just raise the amount of risk of receiving an injury. You're not putting anything into your muscle memory any longer. That's it.
Right. Yeah. Now you're grinding gears, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it, because I love the fact that each night you can go home and it becomes mental. And then you go back with new ideas.
You come mental, but you're going to be specialized on what you're talking about. And It comes from the sports itself. Like, for example, we do our monthly practices with certain topics. Each topic has its own skills. And in the end of the month, we pass tests, and tests having numbers, because only with numbers you can control the situation. You can see either we are developing or we're not developing, and that's how you can operate the overall growth or degrowth of the team. So for example, if my jump last week was 7 foot, this week my jump's supposed to be 7 and 5 foot, next week my jump's supposed to be 8 foot. I supposed to shoot the target off the break in 0.4 seconds. And if I start shooting the target with the first ball in 0.7 seconds, it looks like something is wrong, and I need to work on that more. And that's what I'm gonna spend on Wednesday, the tournament week Wednesday, where I need to polish it to the end and get the correct time on me. So that's the role of the numbers, dear Mike, and how it all works in the real sports. Only where you have numbers, you can operate the system. Where you don't have numbers or things to stress your personal or team overall attention to, you can't operate it. You can't just tell guys, go win them, or be tight, play safe for the first 40 seconds. It's very vast. It's very subjective. You need to give some objective parts to focus at and reach those things.
Yes. It's so good to hear
say
you
it louder for the people in the back.
For everyone in the back.
we stress data all the time.
That's right. Data, math, subjective versus objective. I had this conversation just a few weeks ago with a scouting friend of mine about subjective data versus objective data. And you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, the Canes, and I'm not sure if it's this way I know it is for the Canes, but the Canes, because of the lives that we lead, right, with the wives and the babies and the jobs and all these different things, I have to I have a 50,000 foot view of those numbers. And what I really would love to do, if I had 6 days with the Canes to where I could do the numbers like that, ooh, you're making me drool over here. I'm drooling. So, wow.
But
Great
that's
stuff.
the only way
That
to
makes so
polish the players, because you bring your specialist, Mike, to a certain level, but to be over that level, because they're better than they are, but the true reality of the sport is that you must be better than the other guys, not just better than you are. And you can jump over your head only by the extra muscle memory training system based upon the numbers.
No, that's so insightful, and you're absolutely right. I know every single one of the Canes has untapped potential, and if I could just have more time, if we could just have more time together, I think you would see a completely different team. And I think that's with any team. And I love what you said. But I'm a firm believer that our biggest opponent right now is ourselves. Right? We have to be better. We have to be better. I can control me being better. Right? And so I've said this before. I believe excellence is controllable. And I really do. It's about discipline and putting in the work that is necessary, and that's ultimately what you're preaching. So I love it.
Tell this to Ryan. He's gonna tell you a lot about control.
Yeah,
Right, Ryan?
Right, Ryan?
I control as much as I can, for sure.
See, Mike, you're talking as a true leader of the team that you brought up together. They were your babies, and you have your mind over them, and they respect you no matter what, because you were naturally growing together. And
Well, just to be clear, the Canes existed for 3 or 4 years before I got them, but I have had them the last 5. So.
but you
Yeah.
see who brought them to the pro level.
Yes,
I
okay,
mean, of course, I'm not taking anything from the
they
players.
brought them to the pro level. They brought them.
Guys joined it too, but everybody needs to understand that the true leader is the person who brings people, give them opportunity, and bond them together. That's how that magic happens. And in your way, what you just described, it works, but it's not going to be working in Ryan's way.
No.
And
that
here
makes
is
a lot of sense.
another.
That makes a lot of sense.
And here is like another specifics of being a coach, because you're always gonna be operating with 2 types of people and 2 types of teams. There's like teams of a certain level and certain mindset, as Mike saying about this, and you're gonna have like a big ego teams as Ryan is operating right now. And once again, there is nothing bad about that, because we are in a big ego team too, but we've been through Mike's conditions before and we remember about that. So we really have a big respect of the coach. And the funniest thing, that Ryan's players, they were also through this level, but they just a little bit forget about that. Those guys need to put the egos down and bond together. And this
I think they have. You can't get your ass kicked and take 20th place and not get humbled.
It's not about sir. It's not about getting humbled. You can get humbled, but your ego is still gonna be too high, and you will block chances of cooperating with you or trying or listening the feedbacks that seriously going to be making you better. And I'm speaking about
one. Go ahead.
Say it, sir. Say it, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say the number one task in my opinion, of coaches like Ryan, myself, you, Kirill, is to put your players in positions to succeed. Now, we've said that several times on this show. I think people are starting to understand what we mean when we say that. It's our job to put you in a position to succeed, to make you the best you can be, and to give you those opportunities to be the best that you can be, and to pave that way, to remove the obstacles to allow you to grow. And I think ultimately that's what it boils down to. Whether it's the ego-driven team or the team that grew up together, all of that still holds true. It's fact. It's truth. It's not theory. It's a law for a successful team, I feel.
It is a law, but the styles that you will be using in option A and option B are a little bit different. And
totally,
you can't, you can't put marinara sauce to the meat. Yeah, and that's the feature. Yeah, so and that's the skill.
Get a T-shirt that says the sauce. It's coming. It's coming.
So I like, and I totally understand what you're saying, Kirill, because what Mike is doing is what I have done a few times, right? Like
exactly,
with X Factor, and then with Texas Storm, and then with Austin Notorious, which for me, I'll tell you, that was one of the most exciting things about the opportunity to work with AC Diesel. Is this is a whole new thing that I get to now develop new skills and learn new things about how to coach a group like this, right? I've done the other thing a few times. I'm ready for new opportunities, and but it is completely different. It is completely different.
And my theory and my simple words to describe to all of the viewers, like how does that work in Ryan's case, that you, Ryan, and you, Mike, when you work with like a new team, you use lots of micromotorics works. So you take care about this player, you take care about that player, you are in the head of that player, you are in the head of this player. But you, Ryan, finally had a chance to see the bigger picture, because like the micromotorics and micromanagement is not yours any longer. Don't get into those guys know how to do that. See the bigger picture and direct them into this direction, but try to make this direction not that vast, but laser straight. The hardest part is to make them to believe. That's the hardest part. But you guys gonna go through that.
Should I say
But
that all
one,
the time? All the time. Like if I can just get them to believe, that they can be great, then I think they will.
Roll Tide.
Well, we've spent a lot of time talking about this, and I love the conversation. But we're an hour in, so we need to jump into Red Wave. So
yeah.
And I've kind of been following what you've been doing with Red Wave for a little while, through social media and those kind of things. You and I've had brief conversations about it. So first of all, tell me how Red Wave came about, and then let's talk about how you're utilizing it in Florida.
So the Red Wave topic came out like around the COVID era, when we realized that we gonna be down for sure. Plus, it came out in the period of time when we realized that our players are getting older, and like reproducing another generation of Russian players is going to be extremely hard, because paintball been pushed away from Moscow City, and there were no more chances to have like the average paintball practice in the city, because like you have to spend like hours to drive away. It's like the American reality right now. So we finally faced the same reality back in Moscow in 2019. We found a solution, but still it forces us to start thinking and watching into the bigger picture. And one of the ideas of Sergey, the team owner, was also not only creating the generation of players in Moscow, in Russia. It was about generating and giving chances for any player from anywhere in the world to jump to the club, get into the page, and become a professional paintball player. Because like there's vast history, vast experience, and still very good players and coaches that will invite those guys into their atmosphere and create and push them harder to become a better players quicker. Because like every player being a natural talent gonna take about like 5 to 6 years to do that. We can boost because like we have invented the intensive system of generating the true athletic and professional players in a game. Yeah. So 2020, we sit and we realize that we need to start doing such kind of a program in US, because like we have our program, we are known for the quick games, we have some connections in New York area, so let's create the master classes, get the core group of players from that master classes, set up them to the special field, and start sending over their coaches to start training these talented players. We did it couple of times in the beginning of the 2020, and COVID struck, and no chances to fly around. It was always getting worse and worse. Like all people were stressed about that. So no good chances to reproduce the system. 2022, that's when we reproduced the system a little bit over here in US and in Europe, because like we thought that online trainings can help players to become a team and start producing like the results. It was partly good because during the COVID, we have invented the online system of training. But in the online training system, you can raise up the fitness a little bit for the players. You can raise up their motorics, and they're going to be really good agile for everything. And you can set up their gun skills. But you can't work on the game elements and on the team elements, unfortunately, by the online. You need to get together, spend some time together, work in a special routine, as I just described to you. But with our American program and Europe program, we were not able to reach this. Once again, very expensive to fly around. And I mean, you guys know how hard it is to force people to do something when you can't hold those players' hands and see their eyes in front of you every other day. So we had to reproduce. We realized that we can't do it separately from ourselves. We must create the camp in some area in US better, and start attracting players, teams to us, show them the true athleticism and true culture behind doing sports every other day. And that's how we come to the agreements with Tiki. We managed to sell them our program and our bigger picture and vision of the sports. We're super happy. I'm using the word sell because like it's been my experience of a lifetime coming over to US and learning people, because before that I was coming only for the short periods of time for the tournaments only, and I thought that I know everything, but I had no clue about what was going on here, especially in the divisional level of paintball. Yeah. So when we finally explained to the Tiki guys that the main problem of our sports nowadays is a huge gap in between the ragdoll and the sports paintball. There is no connection, like easy connection in between this. There is no way how we're gonna grow the sports. We like ragdoll shows good numbers like nationwide and overall wide, but sports is stuck right now. And one of the best options that we can do that every other club in US gonna be having its school with a training program for the sports players and easy transition system from ragdoll players into the sports players. And that's how we managed to reproduce the Red Wave program over here in Florida on Tiki as our base, as our home base over here in Florida, with setting up a school program over here.
Outstanding. So is this a one size fits all? In other words, would a D5 player be trained in the same process as a D2 player? I mean, do you look at it from an experience perspective?
So it's another interesting story. And I've been through this myself, so I'm going to be experiencing you guys my own experience. Because like when COVID struck, another trouble struck on my end, I didn't have a chance to receive an American visa for 2 years. So I focused on my and my partner, Pasha Karslev. We worked together. It's actually been his idea to create in Moscow the Reball Hall Center, like the Reball Hall, yeah, that everyone can attend. That is like in the city, in Moscow city. You can use like the city transportation system to get over there. It's indoors, it's super clean, but you can get players into there. They're going to be paying less money, but they will be under your supervision and under your control. So they will be not just going into the Saturday, Sundays for the paintball field and spending lots of money in 2 cases of paint. They're going to pay less, but they still going to shoot the same amount of paints with the reballs because it's much cheaper, but in the perfect conditions. There, in those perfect conditions, you can put a real hand on the players and spend with them all the necessary time together to bring them to the competition level D4, first of all, then D3, D2, D1, so on and so forth. We made with Pasha 3 teams this way for the past 3 years back in Moscow. We took them fresh new guys. They become the champions of the D4, which is the lowest division in the Moscow area and in Russia. They become champions D3, D2, and now they finally grow to get to the D1. And the best players from those teams are trying to become like part of Russian Legion right now, because like those guys were going into the process with us, with me and Pasha, not with the professional line under the guidance of Coach Alex and Coach Max. And how we do the training for like the new players, like later players and later players, so on and so forth. During the COVID, we were designing the training program system for the online. And Sergey, the team owner, has always been a big fan of the Austrian ski system. In Austrian ski system, you have 12 levels of skill for the ski people. Yeah. So you see the person for the first time and you realize, okay, you your level is level 12, and I have this number of time, this number of skills that we need to go with you right now, because this will be your basis to go to the level 11. Level 11, the same style, the same breakdown of the certain skills like fitness abilities, gun skill abilities, game element abilities, and team element abilities. And you upload level 12 or level 11. And you go all the way this way. You have number of hours that you need to spend with those guys, and you have like the setup list of skills and drills that you're supposed to do with the person, one by one, ABC. Sometimes, of course, you receive a player who is like level 7, let's say, and this person does not need to go through the previous 7 levels, and you set up this guy from the level 7. Okay, you have like a good gun skills, you have like a nice body motorics. What we need to work with you right now, we need to work with the balance of your legs as the fitness, because like what we go through in level number 7, we go with running and shooting skill. For the running and shooting skill, you need a fantastic balance for your legs. Okay, let's go with your legs first of all. Balance, different types of the drills on balance on your legs, and then we add your upper body and start shooting. We have number of hours, we have number of points that we check number-wise, and we lead person to the next level, 6, 5, 4, so on and so forth and so forth. So in simple words, we came out to the 12th level individual preparation system for each player. And this is the basic of our school right now. And all of that is based upon the professional line experience that we've been through as a training routine since 2003 till 2009. Probably that was those were the years when we were training the most, because like we were designing those specifics that our sports needed. Until 2009, there were some new stuff that we realized we need to work at, and overall all our experience from those years we can combine into the 12th level individual practice system routines that are the basis of the Red Wave School. So we receive like a fresh new players, and we check them. You guys already not at the level 12, you guys at the level 11, fantastic. We have this amount of hours, let's do this and this. You're good to go to the level 10, fantastic. Let's pass the test, let's make sure that you're good enough for this. Let's go to the level 10. And that's the way how you keep people interested and you keep people coming for the training routine, because they understand what they really need. Of course, they want to win, but how they gonna win? Easy. Learn this, show this numbers, show that numbers, and then when everybody sees and everybody's sure about that, let's go and win the game. Simple as this. But this is the Russian way, guys. This is because like we had to do that, and that was my personal way, because I have never been an athlete. I've been a guy with some extra weight, and I was not like nothing in common, like close enough to Fedorov or Knyazhev. Never. And since I've been practicing, and since I've been developing my brain, because like I had to win against those guys, and I knew that I never can beat those guys just by the true power, because those guys always gonna be more powerful than me because of their genetics. I have to develop something. So I have to bring myself physical level and technical condition as close to them as possible, and then overcome them with the vision of the game, because this is the only way how you can beat those monsters.
Mind's the weapon. Been saying that for a while. So I love it. Absolutely love it. Train smarter, not harder. Well, train harder and smarter. But anyway. So
exactly.
So let me ask you this. So let's say someone completes all 12 levels. So are they do they get a certificate? Do they come back and are asked to be an instructor? Is this like Top Gun, or is this like the Paintball Columbine? How do you want to top that off?
So our way, because like after 12 levels of the individual skill school, you have to go through the 5 levels of the team school, because like team actions also have like topics that all teams supposed to be able to fulfill as a one unit. It's not just every person does something that he wants to do on the field altogether, at his best level. Then we have 3 levels for the coaches, and we have 3 levels educational program for the managers. And in the end, all of that program is designed for the active sportsmen who can find themselves later after they're old and can't play good any longer into the coaching stuff and managing stuff, because you can be guys that
I see what you did there. I see.
I did too.
The old guys who can't
guys.
play anymore, and you're
that's
broken
it. But
down.
but our community is supposed to give an option for such kind of the experience to be in a sports, because you guys are the core of your local development right now, and it's much better for you to be the specialist when you've been through those 12 levels by yourself. That's the best part. When you run those hours, when you sweat and bleed for those numbers of the repetitions through, you know what to expect and you know what's the specifics. And of course, those players who gonna go, who will come closer to the level 1 or level 2, those guys gonna be having the automatic invitation to the pro line.
I love
It's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm not old.
So the guys who you have training in Florida right now that are on your pro line, they came through the school.
They are constantly doing this right now, still doing this, because like, for example, this kid, Jake McDarby, like a true gem of the local community. The truth of our sports is simple, that when you have just an average kid with not a sportsy kid, like with some extra weight kid, you have to spend like 3 more time on this kid, full program, before this kid gonna reach the level. But if you have a nice physical condition, you already an athlete, and your body motorics can catch all of the muscle memory skills as quickest as possible, you can be through this program much quicker. I would say that Jake right now in this individual program is at level 5. And he's like radically moving. We have another example of the local kid whose name is Noah, and he is in our D5 X-Ball line right now. And that kid was level 13 last year. Like seriously, level 13. So not there. Guys, we put this guy into the program. Pasha put his hands on this kid January, February time. I came over here and I did not recognize this kid. Like he slim. I did not see him at the field because like he changed a lot. His gun skills are quite different. He's running into the sensor. He starts being looking like an athlete finally. And it's in a period of time of just 4 months, just been in a program. But of course, this kid needs to go through a couple of more levels to be closer to the professional line abilities. But once again, the start level was different. You like a 14 years old kid, never been doing the sports, or you the 18 or old teenager that's been wrestling and you tough and you getting ready to get this action into yourself, and you're seriously an ambitious person to go and try your powers against the professionals. That was Jake. But the other option is Noah, who is on his way and doing this in a very good way. He and his family is supposed to be proud of him. We have other guys over here in the program who just started play paintball in November. And you would doubt yourself, guys, when you see skills of those guys. Like they seriously play. They start playing ragdoll in November, and those guys at level like 9-7 right now. You're gonna be surprised.
That's excellent. Wow. That's excellent. I've often said, you give me a soccer player or a wrestler or somebody who's in shape, who understands competition, who has the gas tank, who has the physical capabilities. The fundamentals are easy. We can teach them how to play paintball. Give me that guy that's got that tenacity and that understanding. I think you're absolutely right. But you can take those players, like you've said, with the right program in the right direction, who aren't that athletic, and turn them into monsters. I think this is fantastic. What a great story.
I mean, this is the reality, guys, and the U.S. reality all at the same time. That's what that's the main idea that I'm trying to explain to everyone. You guys have the best infrastructure in the country for the people to go and play paintball. Our small job is to make a little difference over here and make sports of paintball. More people must be able to come and do the sports of paintball, not just playing paintball.
Excellent. Excellent. Do we want to get into maybe a little bit about the Legion and their performance in Texas and the upcoming AC?
I think that's the next question for sure.
It is the next question. Yeah. So, hey, before we get off the Red Wave, if you guys have questions about Red Wave, you can find it multiple places during the video. I put it into the chat. It's also right here on the screen as well. It's in the description of the show, both underneath YouTube and then above on Facebook, and that'll be there forever. So if you guys watch this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Amazon, I will also have it in the description. So you're welcome to come back in. You just click the button. It'll take you right to Red Legion Club, and you guys can check out the Red Wave. And of course, if you have questions, you can always reach out to Kirill or whomever manages the social media, which I'm pretty sure is Kirill. So just to make sure that you can always send them a message through social media, and they'll get back to you as quickly as possible.
Sure. Yeah. That's another best part of our sports and the community, that you're not going to have any issues of talking to somebody who's like in the top of the ranks. It's super easy. It's super democratic right now in our sports. And this is the huge benefit and the priceless element of sports of paintball right now. So with much pleasure, going to be answering any questions out there. Yeah, on the team pages as Facebook and Instagram pages, or my personal page. It works. Because like in Moscow, in Russia, you have to start some programs, like some anonymizers, like VPNs. They use Facebook and Instagram. That's a big pain in the ass. But being here in US, I can be much more reachable right now, for sure.
Okay, excellent, cool. Well, let's talk about where you guys are right now. So I want to kind of start out, talk about the last 3 years first. So you guys, pretty dominant, I would say, kind of between that 2007-8 period, and then got dominant again. And then, and again, it had several evolutions of kind of what the group has looked like. There's been a few of you, obviously you've been there the whole time, but there's been kind of an evolution of players, especially during the, what was the big blow up? The other Russian group,
the Art
Chaos. Yeah, so there was Art Chaos that kind of disrupted things for a little bit, and then most of those guys returned. But let's just kind of stay focused on 2021, 22, and 23. You guys finished 6th, then you finished 10th, then you finished 11th, kind of in consecutive seasons. And then what do you feel like was kind of happening during those 3 years that sort of kept you guys from really performing to where we're used to kind of seeing you guys? Because before that, you guys are always in the top 6 or above. You're in 6 or above, right?
So I have to speak about the sauce again. You're losing the sauce. Yeah, it's simple as this. Plus, all at the same time, the overall world condition was not in the best shape, because usually you need to think just about your life in addition to the sports, but then you have to think about all of the diseases during the COVID era, and think how things gonna go afterwards, because you can't continue the training process because everything is shut down. So okay, that's a new reality, and we need to keep going somehow. And this does not give you some good emotions to start producing some ideas into the future and start working more and more, as we have always been doing, in bad situations. Then we have had those visa issues when we were not able to maintain the full squad. So that's why we were inviting players at kind of good level to be added to the squad and be playing with the squad. Big thanks for the Southern American guys who are still with us. So they helped a lot during that period of time. And it's not easy because like all the same time you haven't like the economical issues worldwide, so you can't afford yourself like a top players to buy. You don't have time to create those players for yourself. So it's a perfect storm. And then war started, and that's what destroys everything. Because like, okay, we finally managed to go out from the COVID era. We finally managed to get all of the visas for the main squad players. And the war starts with Ukraine. What's going to be the future? How we're going to be flying? Like what people going to be thinking about us? Like what we're supposed to focus at? Like that was really hard, emotional. And I've been saying this whole 2023 season that I'm super thankful for the American community and especially sports. I'm seriously thinking that we were blessed to take part of your guys' community here in the beginning of the 2000s, of not to receive all the hate that we were able to receive over here, like all other sports receive from my country right now. Yeah. And that's what keeps us around. We understood, okay, we can stay on these grounds. Nobody is going to be hitting us with a knife in the back over here in US. We can still do what we all love. We're supposed to focus not on the modern reality, but we're supposed to focus on communicate with normal communication with other people and do the sports that has always been through the centuries the alternative to the war, because this is the way how people are supposed to communicate and solve their issues without killing each other. That's how nations can understand who stays in front of them. And that's how it's really hard for you guys to think that I'm a big fan of Putin, for example, right? I mean, the reality is not there. Yeah, like who can say that? Like all of my guys are kind of, yeah, let's go for the war. It's not like that, and that's the big part that keeps us all focused for this season, because like we seriously hope that everything is gonna finish. We finally having all steps done. We have the correct basis. We have the Red Wave program here. We have the Red professional line practicing in Moscow. We have those two camps. We do the same program all together. We know what type of the game we all want to play and the type of game that we all know how to play. And that's what drives us. That's what drives us nowadays. And once again, let's say about the cycles, because like in the first cycle, 2004, that was our first season when we ever beat the professional American team as the European team on American territory. First time ever. And that was the first year when we finally played the World Cup of pros in 2004 too. So looks like maybe history gonna make another step, but the emotions and what everybody sees right now from a side says right about that. So we catch this wave, and there is a saying that the amount goes into the quality. So we made our amount of job right now, and we finally can start making the quality into the competition and into the level of the team overall. After those seriously very hard years for the club, those years were even harder than years when the RKOs came out and bought all our players. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate you getting real for a second. I don't know that I've 100% really ever seen that side of you. So we appreciate you sharing that in the way that you did. And, I think it's important. I don't speak for everyone when I say this, but I know most of your guys well enough. I don't really know Pasha that well, but I know most of your other guys well enough to know that, like, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. Like, I know you kind of individually as human beings, and I love seeing you guys. So I hope that the majority of the community, and it sounds like they have, welcome you in the same way, because that's, and you made a great point, and I think this is really important. Sports are how we get around politics, right? Like as soon as we get between the nets, nobody gives a shit who you voted for. Nobody cares who you support politically, right? We're playing the game, right? And even when the game is over, like we talk about this a lot too. I don't know that our professional league has ever been not only as competitive as it is right now, but also as like friendly. Like as soon as the guys are done, we're a community kind of inside the community, and everybody's talking and sharing and knows about each other's families. And it's not just the little pockets anymore. It's kind of everybody, and it's a really special time.
The convention in Vegas just proved that.
Totally.
That was
it's the game that brings us
something
together. Yeah.
Incredible, guys. And I believe part of that process is the middle age of the players and personalities that everybody reaches right now. Yeah. The elder you get, the smarter you get, and you understand, okay, aggression is not everything in my life. So let's be honest, honorable to each other. Let's be gentlemen and play great sports that we all love and show the best game for the crowd out there.
Yeah, and you realize time is small, right? And like dumb shit just doesn't matter, right? Like it just doesn't matter. So I appreciate what you said, but let's go back though, right? So those are kind of the problems that you guys had. So now you're coming into 2024 season, really didn't make any severe changes. You guys bring in JRAB, which is a great move, right? So the other guys though are still pretty much in place. The same really 4 players you guys had coming over pretty regularly last year. It looked like you kept all of the kind of guys who were stationed around Florida, McDarby, the other young man from Alabama. It seemed like all those guys were kind of sticking around, right? So you only really made one change, bringing in JRAB, and you guys immediately see an impact, right? And I think JRAB's a fantastic player and really is fitting in well with your system. And I love also, here's really why I love it, is because Malloy no longer had to like play in the back. Watching him play in the back sometimes last year like hurt my feelings, right? I was like, why is he in the back? Like, get him out of there. Like, let that man go. And now we're seeing like what he can kind of do. So what do you think was the biggest shift really in because it was fast, right? Like you guys come into the first event and immediately look like we expect you to look.
When you do the sports, especially a long period of time, you can never go into the short cycle right away. You have to spend a couple of time before to jump on that cycle and start going up. So to describe our progression, we were progressing till 2019. After 2015, we were progressing. We were on top. Then something happened 2020. We start going low and low. 22, we managed to start going parallel to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Start going parallel to the ground because of the work, because of the investments, because of like all of those factors that are very important. 2023, we almost started going that way, but we finally managed to find ourselves in a good balance and start going up to the end of the 2023 with lots of work, blood, emotions, and everything invested into this process. And when finally one of the missing parts, like the gear pods back from our school, gets back into the program, it makes things so much easier because like you stop micromanagement and you can watch the big picture finally. That's how it all works. And Justin, as you say, sir, a fantastic player. And I remember how back in 2008, he thought that he will never, ever be in the finals of a World Cup ever again or winning something like this. But after he proved that he is more than this, like a super talented young player, not like a mid-age player right now, with a fantastic feeling of a game, like a true player. But he was part of Russian school with all the respect to impact and damage program in the moments being with the AC Diesel also. But he was boosted by us back in those days, 2007, when he flew over to Moscow to work his time and earned his spot in the professional line for the 2008 to become the World Cup champion with us 2009. 2010 again, and so on and so forth. So that once again, sports is not just you kind of feeling yourself fine, you just jogging around. Okay, who do we need? We need this best player, and this guy gonna solve all our troubles.
Right.
Nah, it's not working that way, unfortunately. Especially in the long-term perspectives, it's not working that way.
Sure. Agreed.
Excellent.
That was a great explanation.
That really was.
Yeah.
I'm staying
Great
quiet because I'm
explanation.
just sitting here listening.
And yeah, talking about hurricanes, you guys here, you just need to get on top right now. That just that a little bit of experience, of a time on the field, of like extra magic happening together. And AC Diesel finally managed to go parallel to the ground. You guys about start your way up right now, like right about going into that direction. Because once again, having best players on a map is not guarantee that those guys gonna create something right away.
Nope.
It's not guaranteed.
Very true.
No. So you guys looked really good in Texas. We're obviously don't have a winner yet. You're about to go. We're about to go play it in 3 weeks. We're going to go play Thursday and finish up the Texas layout. Where do you think your guys are going to finish?
Russians are super superstitious people.
Oh, okay. So you don't want to tell me because it may not come true?
That's good.
So when you're going to say something, then you're going to be responsible for that. And maybe energy-wise, it's going to break this moment. So I don't want to say anything because like sports is always about the little element of luck. Doesn't matter how tough you are, doesn't matter how good you are, how quickly you are, you're still going to have your dynasty to play against you.
Right.
So what if I asked it in a different way and said, do you think your group is playing well enough to win the tournament?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
That was a tough group that was given different perspectives of a game from different angles. And though that team gonna win in Texas in one day, that will learn, not just Americans like to say, let's learn. It's not about that, seriously. It's seriously about making your lessons and thinking what lessons the other guy's gonna do. It's all about the mind game right now, because like everybody knows how everybody gonna play.
Totally.
Right. And if somebody don't know how the other is gonna play, he can get into the ghost boards and double check, then maybe triple check and come up with a good game plan. That's the main benefit that league gonna face right now. That teams gonna be hardly operated with the extra intel in their tactics.
That's right. It's
For
about,
sure.
It's going to be about imposing your will, right? Like you said, right? It's not about learning. It's about imposing your will. And I think, Grayson Gladstone made a comment about this last week. We were chatting, and he stated that, it'll be interesting to see the teams, the 10 teams that made Sunday, will they have the same lines? Will they play it the same way? How much tape are they watching? How much smarter are they going to be? There's all these different aspects that I think he made an excellent point about saying, hey, we may not see the same people. Someone may be playing better on the layout now than they were just prior to the event. So it's going to be, I think you're going to see some mix-ups out there. I think you see some cool mashups up there. And, I'm looking forward to watching the Russians on that Thursday.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see. We still need to invest a lot into being the same team over there, because like sometimes you can catch other teams sleeping because they can't understand your kung fu in this exact moment, and they're not having this enough time to like seriously like brainstorm what's going on, guys. Like, what's that element? But now everybody got to have this element to go through, and those teams who doing this the best gonna be the most dangerous opponents out there.
Yeah.
That's right. So based off that, since we've kind of gotten your answer on, and we don't want to jinx anything. So based off that, let's move past Thursday, and let's actually talk about Atlantic City. How does Russian Legion's process, which is very specific, right, very granular on preparing for an event, how will the Russians prepare for a blind layout?
We got J-Rab.
I swear, I almost put in my notes. He's gonna say J-Rab.
I did too. I did too. I almost like it's gonna be an American thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's a good field walker, right?
Yes. Yeah, and very intelligent, right? And he'll be able to be very helpful putting it together. I think you guys are. Again, I know you kind of scolded us a little bit for saying this earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Like, as a fan, not only of the game, but of you, it's been really exciting Kirill, to kind of watch you be able to, as you said earlier, look at, like, kind of stand back, not have to micromanage things, and get to look at the kind of the macro picture of what's going on, and watching you over the last couple of events, developing your game through the middle of the field again, and really getting to be up there and kind of be a bully and do things that you're that, in my opinion, made you famous from a paintball perspective. It's been joyful, right? Again, from a fan perspective, as your competitor, I wish you wouldn't have gotten it together so fast, and it would take you a lot longer. But as a fan, it's exciting to watch. And again, it's we've used you a couple of times on the show as like, hey, if you want to know how to play the middle of the field, watch Kirill. Like, he'll show you. He's doing it correctly over and over and over again, launching multiple different ways to get up into the center, rarely getting shot off the break, going in and creating dynamic things. So it's been really exciting to watch you be able to kind of step back into that player only sort of role, not have to stay in the back and be alive, but be able to get up into the mix and create havoc, because you're very dangerous when you're up there, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. So
quite dynamic.
Thank you so much for your perspective, sir. It very means much for me. Seriously, means much to me. But the trick is that it's not my feature; it's the team feature. Because like, since you're not making micromanagement for some other guys, you all playing your macro game, and you just need to do your 20% of your responsibility on the field. You're not supposed to do 40% for you and for that guy, or you're not supposed to do 60% for you, this guy, and that guy. You just have your direction and play your direction with your skills and into the tactical efforts that your team designed through the previous ABC level of the practice the weekend before.
Give me 100% of your 20%.
Yeah,
so, I love it. Fantastic. I do have to hop in here real quick, because there was a great question before, because I know we're heading into an hour and 45, but there was a great question in the comments, and I wanted to ask you, because this is something I'm certainly interested in. I love to read. I read a lot of books, but there was a question asked by Dan Shelley, of the paintball media fame. Would you recommend any books that have helped you translate to the field? In other words, have you read anything, or is there anything specific that you would suggest that would help people take their game to the next level? And it doesn't have to be paintball, really. Like, for instance, I sat there and I talk about
the
definitely
5 rings,
and Sun Tzu and all that. So
Okay. You the master of the Asian culture. Yeah, you like the.
No master, no master.
He does
But
reference
you,
a
I do
lot of
love that
Asian
stuff.
culture.
but
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
but you, as the martial artist, you have to go into the Asian culture and get some gems from their experience of life. That
100%.
seriously works. What I like most, especially in the recent time, uh, playing the game at your position is fantastic. It's interesting, it's active, but when you grown up, it's not that fascinating anymore, seriously, and you want to go into something bigger. Bigger is operating the groups of people, see those emotions, see how this person act himself, how to operate on this person, how this been designed through the years. That's my challenge. That's what I was looking for the past couple of years, reading books on and so forth. And my favorite book right now is, it's actually the series books. It's about the captain of the British ship. You could see the movie Master and Commander with
Hmm.
Russell Crowe. Yeah, so that movie was based upon this series of novels and stories about the team, about the happy sheep, about what type of the emotions this captain bring to every other ship with him, and how he connects people together and bring them to success, or how he was able to take the hard hit and go through the hard times and get back into the good perspective. That's fascinating. I keep reading these novels. I'm like at novel 8 maybe right now, but it still amuses. Like always something interesting, always new persons, always new situations, and you keep learning and learning. Because like I get a couple of very interesting moments from that book to implement into not only the professional team but also into my divisional programs.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
this actually, this whole conversation and you talking about the red wave and you've talked about the mentality of, the Legion, it reminds me of a very famous Asian, Miyamoto Musashi, and who said the purpose of today's training is to defeat yesterday's understanding. So I thought I'd just throw out there since we're talking about quotes and culture and all that stuff. So the purpose of today's training is to
Wow.
defeat yesterday's understanding. So it's just so. And
Wow.
by the way, Five Rings, read it. Miyamoto Musashi. It's a great book.
Is it Japanese or Chinese, sir?
Japanese, and I will send you a copy of that, where a link where you can find it, where you're interested, the name of the book, when it was published, all that stuff. If you want to get it, or I'll just say if you're still in Florida, I'll send you a copy, and
Yes,
I'll send that to you on.
yes, please, because like it's very interesting. And when I hear something about rings, I believe it's kind of more Chinese. But then I heard the last name of this author, and he doesn't sound as a Chinese author for sure. So that's why I double ask you,
No,
sir. Yeah, but the samurai
famous samurai.
culture,
Yep.
samurai has it all. They have
Yes, sir.
they maybe have a little bit different mentality. That's why their sayings are not completely exactly the pattern for the European culture to take. Yeah, I'm only it's a perfect saying. I'm just doubting it a little bit because they're from a little bit different culture. But of course,
Right.
it's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
it's great. I wish to see what this guy also says as a samurai, because like my most favorite saying from a samurai is that the goal is nothing, the road is everything. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Truth is
But
not what you want it to
sometimes,
be. It
guys,
is what it is.
it's it's it it's it's a good saying, but it helps you when you are low. Yeah, and that makes you to feel yourself a little bit better. But for the European culture, it's not helping. Seriously, not helping too much. Of course, way is great, but you making this way in the European culture, US culture, Russian culture, to reach the goal. You're not just a samurai who's gonna cut his uh, belly off because like his suzerain told him to do that. It's
I'm
a
with
little
you
bit
about the
different.
culture. Yeah, that's right. They believe
That's
that
what I'm.
the path to success was already believing you were dead. So I'm not really, I'm not
So
down with that. I'd rather live.
I want to
Yes.
be clear that what I just heard from Kirill is that he sounds like he's a little more like me. So Kirill, Mike, and I go back and forth because like he's very like he's really philosophical and
Oh,
like
stop.
he's very nice, right? And I'm a little bit on the other side of that. I'm like a little more direct. I'm a little more intense and intentional sometimes, especially with my tongue. I can be a little more direct and
Uh-huh.
forceful
Uh-huh.
because I'm also like I don't like a lot of flowery stuff. Like I want to tell you exactly what I want to tell you. I don't want you to have to figure it out. I'm just going to tell you, like, hey, what we did yesterday, the training we did yesterday, I just want you to remember all that and we're going to get better today. And here's how we're going to do it. And here's the steps we're going to take. And at the end, we're going to measure the results and we're going to find out if we got better. And if we did, that's great. And if we didn't, we're going to start over again tomorrow with exactly what we did. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to be really direct and very intentional. And
I
don't get me
know.
wrong.
I
I'm
could be direct.
spiritual,
I don't think I'm
right?
flowery. I don't know what to think of.
You can't. You are nice. You flower things up a little bit, right?
I flower things. Well, yeah. Okay. I wouldn't. Let's use a different adjective.
All right.
Than flowery.
You say things more nicer than I do. That's all I'm
Okay.
saying.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Guys,
Flowering it up
it's
just means that you say it nicer.
it's totally okay to have different styles of coaching, and that is the art of coaching overall. Yeah, but I still believe that the true success is in the middle of those two programs, like a tough program and sweet program. It's in the middle because like you have different people in your squad, and for some people you have to be tough, but for some people doesn't matter how tough you are, you're not going to make them better. Like for example, I've been talking a lot over here in Florida actually about different generations of players, and all of the guys of my age, maybe a little bit elder than me, they're saying, man, like back in my days, like old guys were shooting us, like swelling on us, and I was playing better. Yeah, but try to do something like that today. What's gonna happen?
They quit.
Yeah,
They
they'll
quit. See,
Right.
and that's our role. We need to understand our role and how we're gonna take this generation into the sports. Because like some people are soft, some people are tough, and you can't use for both of those personalities the same kung fu to produce something of them.
But that's why we do the show
agree.
together, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then, he can offset me, right? And at some point, maybe we'll get an opportunity to coach together, and combined, we will be a really good coach. We'll be a really good
And
coach.
and do you guys know actually how this is gonna happen? Ryan is going to be the head coach, but Mike will be the second coach that will be looking the big picture, and Ryan will be doing the micromanagement with all of the players. Because like you, Ryan, will be doing the stress work, and Mike will have a chance to see the bigger picture and come up with the best variant to break the bad situation or maintain the success of the team.
Love it.
I get to sit back and be flowery. I can't wait.
So are you hiring us, Kirill?
Yeah,
Mike,
it sounds like we're being hired, Ryan.
Yeah, Kirill, are you hiring us right now?
I do want to say one last thing about styles. And I believe that the minute you say that you're this style, you're that style, you've limited yourself. So I do believe in adaptation, and I do believe that I can be direct. Ryan's seen it. But but I'm just saying, like, to your point though, Kirill, you have to. Everyone has a different on switch and an off switch, and you have to be able to find it. Meaning, you have to adapt to each player. So yes, sir, I believe that there are different styles, and I want to use all of them. So, all right,
yeah,
that's why. No. Do not shut up now. Other books which are very important, and that opens up my experience a lot, are the books about the sports. Because like during the COVID, I also been through the classes to become a coach, and I have found there lots of fantastic things, like seriously fantastic things that I've been asking those questions to myself with my experience before in the sports, like how I supposed to operate this and that. And one of those elements is crazy. It's about the brain connections for especially the young players. And can you imagine that if you shut your mouth shut and put your teeth together, your brain connection starts working 30% more effective than they are working when your mouth is open. And it helps young players to get the things quicker and more correct if you force them to shut their mouths, or you create like a special kappa that will connect your jaws correctly, not just that way or this way, but connect the jaws correctly. And there's tons of such kind of experience over there for like true coaches experience. And one of the answers, once again, is about being a tough coach or being a democratic coach. And do you know what's the answer in the real sports about that?
A tough democratic coach.
No, the real sports is divided into the individual sports and into the team sports. Into the team sports, you have to be a Stalin. Nah, you need to be Stalin. In individual sports, in individual sports, you need to be democratic, because like you need to find your communication with this exact person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the group of people, you have to be tough but soft. It's also like an experience of like going through. Yeah.
We have 2 ears and 2 eyes so that we can look and listen twice as much as we speak with the one mouth.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I would love to sit here and talk with you all night, but my alarm is going to go off in 7 hours. So when it's time for me to get up and go to the gym, man, Kirill, thank you so much. This has been, I had like 4 more questions to ask you. So we're going to have you come back on at some point we'll have to have you come back on and we'll finish those off. And we also, I want to dig into some of your, your thoughts on, we didn't get to really how we need to connect more with what we need to do. We were talking about it earlier with if you're chasing both rabbits. We didn't get into that stuff. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, but you were, I normally take like a page of notes when we have people on, and I have 2 full pages of notes. So thank you. We appreciate everything you do for the sport. And again, so excited for you and Russian Legion. I hope that we don't have to see you again for a really long time on the field, but I hope that I get to see you face to face very, very soon. So, Mike, you got any other thoughts?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Kirill, for taking the time to speak with us this evening. It's been incredibly insightful. I look forward to seeing you in Atlantic City, and best of luck to the Legion.
Guys, Brian and Mike, my honor and my admiration to be able to be here with you and speak aloud about the sports that we all love. So our job is to bring the sports to the next level, but not subjectively, but objectively. And you guys making those notes because like it's you who making those notes. Sometimes you speak to the person and he make no signs. So it means that you guys seriously care about the sports and about the future, and your team's supposed to be happy to have such kind of a leaders in between them. So once again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and let's have a great tournament all together. Great show over there.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much. Wow. What a great show. That was fun. Like you.
That might have been one of my favorites.
Yeah, we could have probably talked all evening, and I just like you, I've got 20 more questions. So I'm probably going to pin him down somewhere in AC and talk to him about some things. So.
He loves to talk about paintball, obviously, and so do we. So, absolutely. All right. Well, really quick house cleaning, and then we're out of here. So we are doing another clinic at NXL Chicago. The link is in the description of the show, above if you're watching on Facebook, below if you are watching on YouTube, and if you're watching on Spotify, it is in the description of the show. It's going to be the same stuff that we did in Texas. So if you were in Texas, and you want to do it again, you're welcome to. If not, that's okay. No sweat. World Cup, which I'll put the link for as soon as Chicago's over. We'll be doing another clinic at World Cup that will be game management. So it's kind of a 102, I guess, really kind of class. And then we will also be doing the 101 again in Drew. And Mike and I are really excited to share some information about that very, 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 very soon. We're also going to have two other big things of news. I swear to God, soon we'll be able to talk about both of them. One, I think we probably can talk about. I just want to get one more piece moved before we do talk about it. And then the other one, you'll probably see us in the next couple of days. I have a feeling to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Anything else, Mike? Did I forget anything?
No, just looking forward to that big announcement. We might be doing a live or a pre-recorded show here in the next day or two with a VIP in the industry about some happenings. And I'm looking forward to making that announcement here on the Coaches Show.
Yeah, man. It's going to be, I wish we could just talk about it right now, but we can't. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Coaches Show. Thank you to Major League Paintball for all your support of the show. Alex Sorensen, Kevin Fillers, and Tom Cole. This show is brought to you by Max Sportswear. When needed, get maxed. I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. As always, be responsible.